when you look at AI, you're like, okay, it's accessible to everyone. It's low cost. Is it going to replace people? Right now, they don't hire people. But if you think about it, like social media is free too. People still hire people to do strategy for them, to manage it, right? It still costs time, and time is money at the end of the day.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. My next guest is the first in the series for the Master Your Marketing Mindset series for the month of October. So this entire month, we are talking to Instagram experts, SEO, content marketing, PR experts, which is me, and the content marketing experts, all in the hopes of helping you create and craft a marketing strategy for 2024. Now, you're probably thinking, gosh, Renee, it's only October. But the real successful marketers in the world know that you need months of preparation to get going, and especially when it comes to things like PR and creating content. So with regards to PR, there are long lead times for journalists to write about you, to feature you, to interview you, for podcast hosts to not only schedule you to get on their show, but then to actually publish the episode. And so in our books, October is probably a good month because, back to school is kind of done. And now you're in this month that is really busy with seminars and events and conferences. And you also need to start planning. And so today's guest is the first of this series. She is an incredible woman, a former Division I athlete in tennis, turned agency owner, and now a mentor in social media management. She did this all while under 30 years old. She specializes in helping creators and brands turn into content machines through a multi-channel strategy. She went from being ghosted by every agency that she applied for funding for her own Uber Eats-like multi-six-figure business. She's determined, and the word determined doesn't even begin to describe her personality, as she's hell-bent on disrupting the industry. She says if she can give practical tips to help women entrepreneurs grow, then her job here is done. So in this episode, we talk about all things social media and artificial intelligence, why 10,000 followers is not a social media goal, her best practices in using AI with content creators, her favorite AI tools, and her prediction as to why volume and quality is the future of social media and content creation, and what she thinks that small businesses can do to leverage that to actually turn, not only to grow their social media following, but to actually turn those followers into dollars for their business. Please welcome the incredible Milou Pietersz.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thanks for joining me. We started following each other on Instagram. I don't know how this happened. I feel like most of my incredible guests I found on Instagram. Did we start chatting on Instagram?
Yeah, so I think what happened is I listened to one of your episodes after I found you on Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, that's an awesome podcast. And then I started chatting with you, and here we are.
Yeah. And then I think, you know what it was too? It took us a while to finally connect because I kept forgetting to email you about booking on a show.
Yeah, I know. We had some email issues in between.
We did. And I think it's because I misspelled your email. But the funny thing is, I do believe in divine gifts. And you were meant to be a part of this Master Your Marketing Mindset series. And here we are today having you as a guest on the show to talk about all things social media. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do? And who do you do it for?
Yeah, so my name is Mel. I own a marketing agency for creators and brands. We help them grow on social media and even beyond social media. We're really their go-to for all their marketing needs. And that is in a nutshell what I do. Yeah.
Well, how did you get into this? What got you started in this world of being an agency owner? And I say that with all the love in the world because I know what it feels like.
Yeah, so I actually started out as I graduated in media and advertising. And I think it's kind of like a cliche story, but it was really, really hard to get a job. I was an athlete, a former D1 athlete, and no one was looking to hire me. Obviously, I had no experience, an athletic background. And I kind of took that as a sign to just start for myself. I was always very much into advertising. And of course, social media is really the thing, right? And so, yeah, I started coaching tennis because I already had that skill set while building my business as a social media manager.
So was your athleticism in tennis?
Yes.
No way. Okay, so I used to be okay in sports, but I could never play a sport that required me to hold anything. So, tennis or pickleball or hockey. I feel like I don't have good spatial perception. Whatever the word. I mean, I played volleyball. That's what was my thing. 'Cause I'm 6 feet tall. I played volleyball.
Yeah.
But tennis, that's cool.
Yeah, volleyball is not for me. Like, it hurts my wrist so bad, like, every time I play. But no, I get it. Racket sports are something else.
It is. It's totally something else. That's cool. And how long did you play that for?
So really since I was 5 years old. And then in college, obviously, like 4 or 5 years as a student athlete. Yeah.
Cool. What is the name of your agency?
Yeah, so the name of my agency is Simply Multimedia. We literally rebranded today, so I had to stop and pause for a moment. But yeah, we launched a rebrand today, so that's what I'm going by from today on.
Wow. And why a rebrand?
Yeah, so we were very much focused on social media alone in the past, which has been great. And it really is where my expertise lays. But as my team has grown and we have so many talented creators and creatives on the team, we decided to expand beyond that and make a bigger impact for clients, really, because we all know marketing goes way beyond social media.
Yeah, it totally does. I have this thing called the PR engine. So we know that PR goes beyond just traditional public relations. And the PR engine is public relations, social media, and content marketing, and how the things work together beautifully to amplify your brand exposure. So what got you into all of this, though? Like, what was the big thing that made you really want to, become an entrepreneur, but start an agency? And I say this with the kindest sentiment ever because I know what it means to be an agency owner and it's difficult. So I grew a PR agency in the past and we're at the mercy of, especially with PR, it's like the client's needs and the journalist's needs and the timing of everything, all the cycles of the seasons. It's a lot. It's really a lot. However, the people that are in it love it. And there's something about it that keeps us going. I don't know what it is. We're going to wake up one morning and be like, I'm never doing this again. Why did we get into this? But what was it about this space particularly that intrigued you? Yeah,
so I think in the beginning, it's very much like evolving, right? It's like we all have those goals and we're chasing the next thing kind of deal. And it's like the natural process to move into an agency, especially as demand gets higher and you want to evolve and scale the business. So I've had my doubts, I will say that, in the process. I've had days, like you said, where I'm like, yes, I want an agency. This is exactly what I want. And then one day I wake up, I'm like, no, I don't want this anymore. Like, I don't want whatever I built. But like, I have really come to a place where I'm finding more and more what I want. And like the boutique style agency has just been so great. I feel like I love working with my team. It's fun. We all love working together and we can help more people, but not at the scale to where you lose that personal connection with clients and the work itself.
I love that. So have you ever worked at a really big agency?
No, I've never worked at an agency. That was always my dream, to work at a big agency. But I guess I kind of had to build it on my own.
Yeah, I'm the same. I was actually just on a podcast the other day when I talked about my harrowing adventures into PR and how I grew $1 million agency in the course of a few years, having never pitched the media before a day in my life.
Yeah.
What I realized is like the tactical things of what you need to do to run an agency can be Googled. And you can talk to experts in their books. There's so much more involved in the actual running and the production of growing an agency and finding the right people to do the work and finding the right clients and contracts and all that. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, it definitely keeps me on my toes. I'll say that.
Yeah. Okay. So I know the listeners want to dive in deep about this topic because before we press record too, we're talking about, this is such a it's a tired topic. Everyone talks about this. Most people don't need to be taught. They need to be reminded. And one thing is for sure is that when it comes to social media is we need to be reminded. Algorithms change, tactics change, do we use hashtags or not, all this stuff. But I want to know, one of the biggest questions, and we kind of snickered about this before too, and you just published a post about this, is explain to me, why is 10,000 followers not a social media goal?
Yeah, so obviously there's this whole thing going on where we like to think that the more followers, the better, or that followers equal sales or customers, and really prioritizing that 10K mark, right, as a milestone or as a goal. It kind of like takes away from some of the actual goals that clients or people want to hit, right? A question I often ask people, okay, so what if I can get you 10,000 followers by next week, right? What if we make that happen, but we don't make a single sale of that? Like, would that be okay with you? And obviously, like, everyone's like, no, I need sales, I need customers, and yada, yada. And that's like the point I'm trying to bring across, right? Like, what are we going after? Because we see this in campaigns all the time too. If we're going for sales and we're going after sales, growth will slow down, engagement will slow down because you're posting promotional stuff. But one thing that will go up is sales. So depending on, right, what objective you're going after, our efforts will align with that.
It's so true. So in the PR world, which is interesting and kind of what butts heads against this, which is crazy, is that we look at this from your perspective. I don't want to say is necessarily the smartest perspective versus what I'm going to say. However, when it comes to pitching the media and then the journalists, editors, and this is not for all of them, this is just kind of a generic statement, is that if they don't know who you are, and one of the links you send them to showcase a little bit more about yourself is your social media account, and you don't have a huge following, it's kind of like one of the first X's of 3 X's, right? Oh, they don't have that many followers. And then the next, they'll look at the content. And this is where you come in. Like the content you come in is like you help your clients create this content. So yes, in my world, there is something to be said about the amount of followers you have. And yes, we can buy followers. We know that. We know anybody can. I remember when we launched my last agency's Twitter account. I think we got very quickly, the Twitter account came up to about like 15,000 followers over the course of 6 months because we got our followers. And we did it as a test because we had clients asking us if this is something they should do. We're like, we don't know. Let's try it out for ourselves. We're the guinea pig. And it ended up being stupid because it's just a bunch of bots. And so you say 10,000 followers isn't necessarily a social media goal. It could be a social media goal. It's not a business objective.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Of course, it's kind of like a clickbait line that gets people to think. Because, of course, imagine you have 9,500 followers. Of course, 10,000 followers can be a goal in that case and something realistic. But it's more to get people away that are just after that, right? Those are not the types of clients I work with. And so I'm trying to bring a message across so that it scares the right people away, if anything.
So what have you seen of all the clients you worked with? What was some of the biggest case studies in terms of like the sales that happened on the other end of the work together, but also how that actually correlates with quality followers? Tell us about 1 or 2 case studies.
Yeah, so we have a couple of different case studies. It really depends on the client. We have some clients that really are on social media for that brand awareness, if they're larger corporate brands, right, that don't necessarily rely on that DM conversation that turns into a sale. Then I have case studies actually that are based on growing someone beyond 30K followers from scratch. And it's probably my biggest fail, to be honest with you, because there were no sales there. So that is a prime example on the topic we're talking about. And then now we have clients that do have funnels in place. They have their stuff together. They have a product that sells, that they know sells. And now with our social media efforts, we can really push on their campaigns to drive launches. And that is really a big thing because a lot of people, they dive into social media and PR as well, right? But they don't have a proven product. They don't have funnels in place. So then it's kind of like it ends at social media.
That's true. And so this might be a stupid question, but how important is the other end of social? And what I mean by that is how important is the place that the destination you're sending these people to? Because we don't own our social media accounts. This is kind of like that funnel where we catch it all and we spit them out the other side to somewhere we own. How important is that?
Yes, it's so important. I would almost say it's more important. And like that comes from me as a social media strategist, but it's so important. Like we will not take on clients that don't have a funnel in place, that don't have a proven product. I've been there, I've done it in the past and it doesn't work because it doesn't matter how good of a job you do. You don't have a place to drive them to. You don't have a place to convert them. And then the social media person doesn't have a way to prove that their efforts are paying off for the client.
Oh my gosh. And so it's so true. I remember working with a friend of mine. She launched a book and the book was like, she had a publisher and everything was going well. And I go like, one of the questions after we started working together was, where are you sending these people? Because like you don't make money off the sale of a book. It used to be the case, but not anymore. It's like, what are you selling at the end? She's like, oh, I don't have any programs. So we had to put something together for her that made sense, that would work with her to achieve her business objectives. But it's true. It's like, listen, I was one of the first Twitter influencers in Toronto. This was a long time ago. Also, kind of how I met my husband, it was on Twitter, but I was one of the like Virgin America, Virgin Blue influencers, and I got a free flight round trip anywhere that Virgin America flies in North America. It was all about influence, right? And influence today is numbers, how many followers. And I think there's still an argument for that being said. It's important. Don't get me wrong. Everyone looks at those numbers. However, I want to dive into the detail of this conversation, which is all about AI, artificial intelligence. Because what a beast this is, and a beautiful beast if you choose to look at AI as an opportunity. So what are the best practices? Because I know that you use a lot of AI in the work that you do. What are the best practices for AI when it comes to content creators?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, really getting to know the tools you're using to kind of see how they work and kind of train them in a sense to where it makes sense for you to even use them. Because I mean, we test a lot of AI tools internally, obviously before we start using them on anything or clients. But sometimes you just run into a tool and like you just don't have it down, right? Like it doesn't give you exactly what you want. Some of the best tools are like obviously ChatGPT gets used by almost everyone, right? But really diving into crafting a great prompt, for example, getting more specific, what is giving you great outputs, right? Often what you put in is what you get out of it, even with ChatGPT. So I think that is a big thing. And always checking everything. See it as like an intern, as your assistant, rather than, okay, they're doing my job now. So I think that is a big thing.
And how do you guys use it for your clients?
Yeah, so really, again, as a tool to be more productive and efficient. So to give an example, like one of the tools I really love is Opus Clips. It can turn any YouTube video, podcast like this one, which I'll probably do after this goes live, but it will snip it up into like 10 plus reels. I don't have to do anything but put it in, customize it, edit it from there. Obviously, there's still a little bit of editing, but it does the heavy lifting for me. I don't have to go in, watch the entire video to snip up little pieces because the AI can do that for you. So again, you can produce more content and we can produce more content for clients without having to charge them more, right? But to deliver better results and push out more stuff about them. And it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. So Riverside, which is the platform we're using now to record this show, does that too.
And I love that. It's like everyone is starting to integrate that.
Oh, it's
like
so quick. Because at the end, it's like, in Riverside, like, it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
What it does is it produces a transcript for the show. And then it takes out, using AI, it takes out the probability of a certain clip being the best clip. And then it puts the caption on top of it.
Yeah.
Download it just like that.
Yes, and it's amazing. Like, I love it so much. Like, again, it's not to replace us, but it's like having a junior video editor on your team while you like perfect it afterwards, right? Of course, you still have to check the transcriptions. I'm sure with my accent, there will be some words that are misspelled and stuff like that, you know? But yeah, outside of that, it's like having like that free grade intern helping you out.
Okay, so then with these tools now, because it's like the barrier to entry is so low in terms of what it costs. I don't know what my Riverside is per month. We'll say it's like $40 or $50 a month. And for what I use it for, that's very reasonable, which allows me to show up and record these shows, create reels, create TikToks, YouTube shorts very quickly and easily. I can literally go and push buttons and it downloads. And what it does is it highlights a certain portion of the video. And it's like, based on our algorithm, we project that these 2 or 3 clips are the best clips to extract. And you can actually you can slide that skill. And then you can download that snippet and it's going to superimpose the caption on top of it. But now that it's accessible to anybody for such a low cost, now there's this competition of not only a quality game, because if you're producing quality content, that's great, but it's a volume game. So now it's like whoever can produce the most amount of quality content wins the game. But if everybody's doing that, then what is the future for social media in this instance?
Yeah, I think that's such a great question because I am very much about quantity, but not at the cost of quality. So obviously, let's say the volume increases, it just moves the bar for everyone. And the quality content will stand out from the pieces of content that aren't quite there, right? So I think that's super important to take into account. And on top of that, I feel like when you look at AI, you're like, okay, it's accessible to everyone. It's low cost. Is it going to replace people right now? They don't hire people. But if you think about it, like social media is free too. People still hire people to do strategy for them, to manage it, right? It still costs time. And time is money at the end of the day.
Hey, you wild thing. Now, I know we're only in October, but I'm curious if you've actually started planning for your marketing for 2024. The whole point of this series of Master Your Marketing Mindset is to inspire and motivate you to start preparing for what 2024 will look like for your business. One of which is to craft and weave in a really incredible world-class PR strategy. And I know you're probably thinking, I don't know how to do that. I don't have the time. I don't want to do that. What does that look like? I don't have the money. Well, luckily for you, is I've created a program called the Authority Booster Intensive, and it's a VIP day with me, where my team and I craft a custom PR strategy that can easily be plugged in to your current marketing plan. Because I know, hey, I don't even know what day it is in October, but you got to be planning something for the new year. Here's the thing about PR, is it has really long lead times. Top podcasts can take 6 months or a year to get on. Top publications, 3 to 6 months to get in. And so you need to start planning now in order to take advantage of those opportunities and the themes and the seasons for your business when it comes to PR. So if you're curious or you want to learn more about what it takes for you to implement your own PR strategy working alongside my team, go to wewildwomen.com/VIP day. That's wewildwomen.com/VIP day. You can check out the testimonials and really what it is involved and what it takes from our team and from your team to implement an incredible strategy. I know it's worked. It's worked for now dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs that have come through the program, some of which are saying they're getting $100,000 worth of revenue from shows that they've been on they never thought possible, and others are gloating about the business development achievements that they've successfully achieved by using the systems, the customized formulas that we created for them. So go to wewildwomen.com/VIP day. So then would the argument be going super niche?
It's a tough one to answer, I will say. Like, think about it right now with all the AI tools out there. I don't think anyone still in my industry really matches my volume. I'm very much known about my output and consistency. And it's already there. Like, the tools are there. Most of them are not too hard to use either, right? But I don't even see that happening right now. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's simple, but it's still not easy. You still have to show up. You still have to do the work, right?
What's stopping people from doing this then? Because like the reality is there's like billions of people on the earth, and this doesn't matter to a lot of people, probably to most people on the earth. However, there are a lot of people that this matters to in terms of this being social and using AI. And so the question really is, it's like, what do we really need to be doing with social? And how does AI help us achieve that faster?
Yeah. So I also think, and I think you touched on this in one of your other episodes a little bit about incorporating storytelling now, because that's something AI can't replicate, but also like the relationship building, right? Now that you have to spend less time creating content, you can spend more time engaging. You can spend more time in the DM. You can spend more time answering comments if, like, let's say you have a big audience and usually you don't have time for that. Now you do actually have time to build more connections and more relationships. So there's that argument of like, no, it doesn't like make it less personal. In fact, you can have better relationships because you're not spending all that time creating.
I love that point. So a friend of mine, she's in the PR space too. She's a motivational speaker too. She said that she hates it when people send a voice note. In like, we're using
me too.
Okay, you're one of them. You're one of them.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Can AI replicate a voice note?
So yeah, AI can replicate a voice note. Yes, they can. So there's tools like 11 Labs that you can only do this for yourself, but like you would upload a ton of footage. Like let's say you would upload a ton of podcasts and it can replicate, yes, your voice so that you can get it to say whatever you want.
Say, go pick up my kids at school.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's my argument is that, so part of my strategy that I teach some of my clients, not all of them, because it's not relevant to everybody, is that in terms of like the pitching and the follow-up, is sometimes when you know with conviction that you might be, for example, the perfect guest for a podcast and you've pitched them over email, no reply, or their assistant or somebody junior says not a good fit, and you see them on Instagram as an example, and you see that you've been following them for a while, you're liking stuff, they're sharing their stuff, commenting, and you've been direct messaging them. Is there an argument that sending a voicemail, I'm not saying heaps of them because I hate it when someone sends me a minute-long voicemail, and I hate it when they send me 10-minute-long voicemail or voice notes in a row. What I love is the quick 30-second voice note, because here's the thing. People can't help but listen to it. Because you're like,
yeah, this is so true.
What are they saying? I need to hear this. But if it's 59 seconds long, I'm like, that's a minute of my day, and I can't speed this up. It has to be exactly the speed that Instagram provides. But a 30-second note, I'm like, oh, okay, play.
Yeah.
But all this to say, because we're talking about like being a genuine person, right? So you're saying, hey, AI automate a lot of the things that took up a lot of human time. Now we can engage. Do you think that's the future of social, is the engagement side?
Yeah, I think it has always been big, but like it's now only just getting bigger, the relationships. And like also like touching on the voice notes, I think again, it's very much personal preference, right? And I think it's more when people do that like on the first go. Like, I don't know you. That's very intimate for me if someone then sends me a voice note. But like, let's say we've had a conversation. I feel like it is very personal. Now it feels like I'm on the phone with someone, right? It's so much more personal. And I actually have a rule with my friend where we're like, okay, you need to give me a heads up when you're going to give me a voice note. So we'll give a warning like, I'm sending a voice note. I actually automatically do this with people in my DM. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I send you a voice note? Because I know it saves me time, but likely it doesn't save them time, right?
Oh, that's so interesting. Different perspectives, because I'm just like, hey, listen, I'm sending you a voice note. Some of the things is like in my sales training program with my coach, we have this thing called 5 POCs, which is 5 point of contact, and which you have to essentially reach out or connect with somebody that might eventually, if not, become a client in the future, but by providing value. And one of them is like sending a quick voice note. And it works. It totally works. But here's the thing is I'm such a hypocrite because I hate receiving them to the extent that somebody does. I remember one time we were flying from Croatia back to Canada, and I was essentially offline. I'd sent a voice note, like a couple of words, and then a voice note to this woman. And it was nothing to do with business at all. It was just like life stuff. And when I landed and I opened up my direct messages, it was like 20 long voice notes. And I'm like, no. How insulting is it to think that I have 20 minutes to listen to?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what that reminds me of? It's like a post I commonly do, and that's another social media tactic where you send welcome messages to like in the DM, right? When someone follows you. I don't like necessarily receiving those, but like they are effective. And I do them sometimes. Like I filter out people, but if someone follows me, then I'm like, oh, they would be a great fit. Like I would love to work with them or whatever. I just sent them a quick message like, hey, like, thanks for the follow. Let me know if you have any questions. And it does work. But yes, it's one of those things that you said too, like you don't necessarily like receiving them, but it depends on who you're targeting and their personal preference too.
Yeah. So of the clients that you work with, because we're talking about not quality, or not quantity, but quality of followers. When it comes to like business growth, what are the things that are working today? So it's October 2023. We're recording in September, October 2023, that is working for businesses to leverage social media to grow their business.
Got it. Yeah. So really one of the things is, showing up regularly, talking about your offer regularly, and talking about the value of your offer. Honestly, it's the number one thing I see when clients come to us. They feel icky about like talking about their own stuff, right? And that's the reason why, maybe your engagement is great, but sales are not necessarily there. So that's one of the first things we implement, because obviously we are after the monetization. We want to showcase the ROI to you. So in order to see that business growth, we need to focus heavily on, obviously it balances, right? Everything comes in balance, but we do focus heavily on the strategy side of, hey, where do we sprinkle in your offers? Where do we talk about your offers consistently? Because sometimes it's hard for people to talk about their own stuff, and then having someone that does it for you. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, consistently repeating your message works.
Yeah, but what does that mean though? Regularly, consistently? Is that 30 times a day? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so if we're talking growth, I'm definitely talking multiple times a day. Yes. Now, and this is not for everyone necessarily, but it's something I've implemented for myself for a long time. And I've studied many successful accounts. And one thing they all have in common is that they show up multiple times. And it's no coincidence that you see them at the top of your feed most of the time because their output is just high. And again, it's not to say that that's the only way, right? There are other ways where you go heavier on engagement and outreach to close a sale and find new clients. But like having a high output just definitely still works to grow not just your business, but on social media.
Okay, so if somebody's listening and they can't afford you and they want 3 tips to leverage their social media to increase revenues, what are those 3 tips? Be specific, because like you say, like consistency and output and talking about your core offer regularly. But does that mean like 7 days a week, 3 times a day on a story and a reel and a post? Like the people need to know systematically what that actually looks like.
Right. So ideally, I would say top number 1, it would be to start producing long form content. If you want to make your life easier, produce long form content. This is number 1 problem with people that cannot keep up and it's not sustainable. It's because they don't produce long form content. They are creating, let's say, 30 individual unique posts a month to show up every day, right? While instead they could be recording like 1 or 2 podcasts like we're doing right now a month. And those can be turned into daily snippets if you wanted to, right? So that would be already a post a day. We talked about AI earlier. So there's already your foundation. And this is kind of based off a framework I've built internally for myself and clients. Then the second thing would be to define your goals, right? What are you actually trying to do? Do you have an offer that you need to fill spots up for, you need to get clients for, and tailor your content accordingly, right? So let's say you're launching a new offer. You are going to be more promotional. You might promote your offer every single day up until the launch, right? So really aligning the efforts. But let's say you're really focused on growth and you're not necessarily looking for new clients right now, then you can focus more on sharing personal stories that get lots of engagement, right? I mean, you know this too. Personal photos, personal stories get lots of engagement, can help you grow. So aligning your content with your actual goals would be the number 2 tip. And then number 3 tip is start building relationships, right? Maybe you cannot show up every day. Maybe you cannot produce long form content. Maybe you cannot do any of the previous tips I mentioned, right? At least you need to build relationships. Social media is social, right? And so you can do this by regularly interacting with an ideal client. Maybe it's someone you follow and you're like, they would be my dream client. Start interacting with them every day. This can take maybe 15 minutes out of your day where you're commenting, interacting with their content, but investing time into them so that it can eventually lead up to them becoming a client, right? So those would probably be my 3 tips. And I hope they were specific enough to implement, but yeah.
Well, the third one is super relevant with PR too, because when we talk about getting in front of journalists and writers, it's about building that relationship. Most people hire PR agencies based on their relationship to journalists, which shifts all the time.
Right.
So then I already asked you the question about prediction with volume and quality. A couple more questions, but especially around AI. What are some of your favorite tools? You've mentioned some, but what are some you use on the daily that help you with getting your time back and with creative output?
Yeah, so Opus is the one I mentioned, Opus Clips, similar to what you explained, Riverside, snips up any long form content into reels and shorts and wherever you want to use them. So that's really one of my top ones. Firefly's AI is an AI meeting note taker. I know there are a couple of different varieties out there, but it joins every single meeting, transcribes, records everything. And so after every meeting, we obviously send meeting notes to clients in a recap, but that's all done for us. So you don't need a physical note taker, right? Back in the day, I will say, we used to have maybe a VA join a call, right? That would take notes. So that's not something we have to do anymore, right? We just send them the link and they have all the notes, transcriptions they need. So that would be another one. And then other one, ChatGPT, it's so cliche, right? We all use ChatGPT. It's probably not new for anyone, but it's just so great to get quick ideas. Even like maybe you want to create your first ebook or digital product to create that funnel we were talking about for social media. It can spit out ideas so quickly. And it's not to say that their ideas are polished and good to go. I notice that always right away that it's probably not what I would have come up with, but now that writer's block is out of me and I just have something to work with. So I would say obviously ChatGPT and similar programs like it. That would probably be my top 3 right now.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The truth is a lot of these AI tools that you talk about, most people don't use. And most businesses don't use AI. And who uses AI based on some of these studies by SurveyMonkey, and there was another one too, with regards to marketers and advertisers in the workplace, the ones that are most threatened by it, as I said earlier, are the ones that are actually using it. Other people don't know its potential and don't. However, so these marketers that are like, oh, this is going to take my job. The marketers that are actually doing really, really well are gaining their time back by taking out those mundane tasks, like the writer's block you talk about, and they're using ChatGPT, Jasper, Copy.ai, Opus, all this stuff to bridge that gap between writer's block and tired. Oh no, I'm creative today. I need to come up with 30 days worth of content. And it's like, boom, AI solves that problem. But really, at the end of the day, all this comes down to a couple things. One is implementation and consistency. But really, it's the mindset, which is my second last question for you. What is the toughest mindset you have to master in order to be great at social media?
I think the toughest mindset to master is to really, I always talk about building a muscle. You need to build a social media muscle, especially if you're going for consistency. It's not just going to show up. You're not going to be motivated. And I think that is the toughest thing for people to master. And that's why most people, they show up and they fade out. They show up, they fade out. I see it all the time. And people often ask me over and over again, how do you do it? How do you do it? And like, I don't necessarily like to show up, but it's like brushing my teeth. I wake up, I show up, and that's just that. You need to build a muscle so that it becomes part of your day-to-day. I also often say, like, showing up for your business is a form of self-care. And I really, really believe that.
Okay, I'm just going to open up your social account right now. So you are Milou Pietersz, which is not spelled at all, as I just told you, but I'm going to put that in the show notes. And you have over 51,000 followers, 2,160 posts. Really great content. I follow a lot of people that have Instagram tips. And what I loved about you is how you show up. You're genuine. You do a mix of carousel posts and reels and videos and stories. So it's like we can hear you, we can see you. For me, from my perspective, is of all of the people on Instagram that I could have chosen to be part of this Master Your Marketing Mindset series was how you showed up as you. Like, and we talked about this, like, authenticity and PR. When I get pitched to be on my podcast or when I'm helping clients get pitched to be on other podcasts, it's like your social media matters in that people look at it as a resume to be on the show.
Right.
For me, it's like, are you genuine, articulate? Do you know what the heck you're talking about? And all of that shows up on social media through your stories, through your reels, the content that you share, right? So regardless of your following, but 51,000 is impressive. So I applaud you. And I've seen people that I would have asked to be on my show that have 3, 4, 5, 10 times that amount. That to me didn't matter because the significance of how you show up consistently was the most important. And
I appreciate that.
All that to say is when it comes to PR, the authenticity matters. And I know that is something that AI has not yet conquered and can't conquer.
Yeah, and it's something that AI will also never conquer. So that goes all back to the whole personalization part of it.
Yeah. So like you being you. It's always, no matter what invention we have, I genuinely believe is authentically you being you and showing up as who you are is going to be the thing that sets you apart. Like, so we talk about like niching down. Niching, I think, is to this day, like the one of the most strategic things you can do in marketing. Unless you're like the Coca-Cola of the world, which is the world's most recognized brand. It doesn't, like, to them, it doesn't matter. They can be on Mars and people know who they are. Right? But if we put you on Mars, it'd be like, who's that girl up there? Someone go help her. Bring her back home.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, so one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Yeah, to me, that means to show up as your unapologetic self, right? Especially us as women, not care about what other people think of you, showing up, like what we just talked about, like being authentic and standing up for whatever you want to stand up for, your opinion, and doing the things you want to do in life without people stopping you.
Love it. So, Milou, if people want to go online to find you and follow you and potentially hire you, where can they go?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram and honestly all other platforms as Milou Pietersz, which is Milou Pietersz, as in zebra. And I know it's a mouthful and I'm sure it will be in the show description. But yeah, I'd love to connect with people. I honestly always respond to messages, comments. So I'd love to hear what you thought about this episode as well.
Yeah, she definitely does. She shows up and she is a cheerleader, which is what I love about having you on this series. So Milou, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'll talk to you soon.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time, the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.